and streams in stables cold and gray. Shadows dance while horses softly neigh. He tells the creatures in the barn each night that one day he'll wear armor shining bright. From dawn to dusk he works with honest hand, feeding mares and working on the land. But he has his heart set on the table round, to join the knights who bravely serve the crown. With a sword and shield he'll join the fight, prove his worth before it's Christmas night. He'll show them all as he sets out on his quest, a gift to himself, a night before Christmas. With a sword and shield he'll join the fight, prove his worth before it's Christmas night. He'll show them all as he sets out on his quest, a gift to himself, a night before Christmas. But chivalry demands self-sacrifice, and when folks need help, this boy does not think twice. He meets the need, though it cost him his dream. But maybe things are more than they seem. With a sword and shield he'll join the fight, prove his worth before it's Christmas night. He'll show them all as he sets out on his quest, a gift to himself, a night before Christmas.
In a world where terrors creep, monsters need their beauty sleep. Dr. Black with steady hand heals the beasts across the land. Vampires and creatures of the night find their savior in Black's light. No more horror guaranteed, thanks to Monster MD. Electric bolts from a stormy sky, leather wings of a dragon's flight. A psychic sword cuts through the night, a fiery heart standing ready to fight. Southern nights they rise and soar, God in the south, yeah, they're ready to roar. From the shadows to the shining lights, that they'll protect you day and night. Southern nights. On a catwalk, Teresa struts her stuff, but the fame and attention just isn't enough. When the darkness descends, turning day to night, she takes to the skies with a blinding light. She's a sight to behold, sexy and powerful, brazen and bold. She's turning up for the fight, rooting out evil and shining so bright.
And happy holidays to one and all. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, and I am hot in this coat, but I don't care. It's stylish, and it's wintertime, it's cold outside, and it's Christmassy season. So we're just going to, I'm just going to enjoy the season. You guys can do what you want. Tonight, we have a special book. We have two books. Is it one book or is it two books? There is the crux of the question that we're going to be addressing tonight, which is why we have with us Dennis Maloney and Henry Vogel. And, you know, just for good measure, we brought George along too.
There's my camera.
Welcome, guys. I'm throwing you up top here because you guys are going to be running the show here. I am going to be doing things like producing the show in mid-show. It's his fault. But so there'll be something happening a little bit later on. But guys, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, because we're going to have some new readers here who don't know you guys yet. We'll start clockwise with Dennis.
I'll start, since I'm here on the upper left corner, and we're probably going to go clockwise. I am the publisher, president, chief writer at Heroic Publishing. We do Flare. Very nice music video. I love that music video. League of Champions, Liberty Girl, Witchgirls Incorporated, books, probably the best comic books most of your fans have never seen. They should see them. Go to heroicmultiverse.com, take a look at some of the free comics that we have available for you, and you'll like it. I guarantee it on Henry's life. I think you'll like the books.
That's a safe bet.
I quit.
I'm throwing it in the chat there, folks. Definitely check out heroicmultiverse.com. Oh, yeah, for all the Heroic Publishing. I almost thought I read the URL wrong. I did not.
So, is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Okay. So I'm Henry Vogel. I am the co-creator and writer of the Southern Knights, the #1 super team of the South. And during the 80s, one of the longest running, I was going to get to that one too. Yeah. One of the longest running, actually, independent black and white comic books that was published, when we finally got knocked off by the second black and white bust. We had 34 issues, which there are only a handful that ran longer than that. And of course, he just held up the fabulous X Thieves, another book that I co-created and wrote, that it's not really a spinoff of the Southern Knights, but it wouldn't have existed if we hadn't gotten together for a Southern Knights plotting session. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to cover all the stuff about the Morrigan Wars, which happened a little bit after the Southern Knights stopped publishing. And since that time, I've gone away from comics and into writing science fiction. You can find all 22 of my science fiction books on Amazon, or you could come to my website, henryvogelwrites.com. I don't sell directly from there, but I have links to, Amazon. So you could you can find out more about the books and go there. And I hope go buy some, including especially the Southern Knights and the Morrigan Wars, which feature the Southern Knights.
Yay.
So a little bit about why I'm here. We publish books. George is my business partner in this venture, and business partner / mentor / motivator. And Henry
he's blue.
Yes, and he's very blue. And I've been after Henry for a while for Southern Knights, and Henry's like, what can I say? The rights are tied up. And then Henry had the epiphany before I did, almost 3 years into my begging and asking. I still have all the rights to X Thieves, and it was like, yeah, we want X Thieves. So George did X Thieves in what, 6.5 hours? No, he did a very rapid turnaround. And at which point Henry's like, oh, that's a lot less than 3 years. Hold my beer, I'll be right back. And so we started doing the Southern Knights. We got the rights to that one, but it wasn't complete. He's like, we can't do it because, we did this crossover with, League of Champions. There's, other characters involved in the issues. We can't reprint those. Like, well, why don't we ask Dennis what we can do about that? And then Dennis very graciously said, let's put together the Morrigan Wars. And if you're, curious about what the Morrigan Wars is, we don't have a video for that, George.
No, we don't. No, we don't. But
we don't have an X Thieves video either. I'm just going to mention that. Yeah,
you really want to stick it to us, don't you?
Merry Christmas.
You have an X Thieves unanimated
Who is the singer? She's got a lovely voice.
She does have a lovely voice. That's Alice. That's AI. She does not exist. I call her Alice Irene. Her initials are AI.
Okay. Huh.
But
Very realistic.
it is. It's getting kind of scary good. I do all the lyric writing. I don't rely on ChatGPT for anything like that. I'm of the mind that people love AI until it does the thing they do. So artists hate the artist AI, but they will gladly ask, Google questions to get answers to things. Writers will say, draw me a picture of something, but don't you dare tell me what it is because I will do the writing. So it's all that not in my business. AI is great for everything but what I do.
At the moment, and I note that I'm that strong qualifier, AI writing still sucks. So we don't yet feel threatened by AI. We'll see whether that ever happens or not.
Not at all. If you let AI write a song, you get the most June Moon Soon tune you will ever hear.
Hey, like Rebecca Black.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I wake up, I brush my teeth, I comb my hair, I walk to the bus stop.
That's the Beatles.
Again,
That's Bruce Springsteen. That's Bruce, got up this morning. The house was cold. Checked the furnace; it wasn't burning.
No, woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head, found my way downstairs.
Exactly.
Okay. I bet none of those people in the chat tuned in to hear me quote Beatles lyrics.
I will.
I think that they came here because they were expecting something interesting about the Southern Knights and the League of Champions, perhaps, maybe.
Share my screen.
No, it's not going
Okay.
to happen. Well, it is going to happen, but we have time to fill. So anyway, where was I? Dennis said, "Yeah, sure, we can work out a deal," and we got to where we were selected to basically put the books together. And then Dennis found out that we could do hardcover, and he's like, "Well, why don't you do the heroic version and the Southern Knights version?" So we've got basically 2 versions of the Morrigan Wars. If you are collecting your League of Champions volumes, this is volume 6 of League of Champions. And it's, that collected Morrigan Wars with the Southern Knights episodes and the Flair episodes in it. If you are collecting Southern Knights, you can get the Southern Knights book and finish out your Southern Knights omnibus.
With a really cool double cover.
Yes, if you're a traditional comic book collector, you will, of course, get both of them because the covers interlock. And that was, that was us preying on the OCD of the fandom that we know exists.
It's a beautiful cover, beautiful set of covers by artist Henry Martinez.
No
who
relation.
is credited in the book.
Yeah.
We made sure at the very last minute that got in there.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Wait a second, there's something missing here.
There's always that one last thing that's just
For the less OCD fans out there, the contents are identical. You're not going to need to buy both issues to read the story. You will feel a strong sense of deja vu if you read them right one after the other.
That is true.
That's
It was really the only difference is in the covers. That's it.
And the ads inside at the back.
Yeah, the ads inside.
The ads
Yeah.
and the front splash page. The first
Yeah, but those are
splash.
related to the covers. Yep.
Yeah. But
Yeah. Okay.
But
We made sure that, if you wanted to see both covers, that the first thing you see when you open the first page is both covers together. So
no, second page.
Second page.
you turn the first page, you're looking at the second.
Yeah. And you are going to do a poster featuring this double cover. Yes. Am I correct in that?
Yeah,
Sure.
it's going to be available for quick purchase through Teespring.
Okay.
24 by 36 and 18 by 24.
We'll get those links out.
cool. News to me. I learned something.
Yeah, news to me too, and I run the place.
Yeah, me too. I didn't even know it was happening.
Yes, we are doing a poster.
You're the one who said you were doing it. Wait a minute. Is
I'm
that
just
your
making this up as I go.
We had the
And Henry
capacity
will
to
get a
do.
royalty for that poster, as I
You
understand.
will,
it.
yes,
Henry, if you're listening,
absolutely.
we're going to see if we can line your pockets a little bit.
Your
What year?
agreement
Henry
that you have for
Martinez.
books is all encompassing for all merchandise that we ever do. So if we
Okay.
do T-shirts, and Henry, if this show had happened tomorrow night, you would see a T-shirt, but it's not going to arrive till tomorrow.
Oh,
Oh, there's a T-shirt coming.
So there blows that surprise. Yes, there's a Southern Nights T-shirt coming.
Wow.
featuring the
while
Southern
we
Nights,
talk,
right?
yeah, while we talk about this, I will blow it up. So anyway, we put the Morrigan Wars together. What the fans are wanting to know is, what the hell's the Morrigan Wars? Who wants to jump in and start off what that story is?
Why not you do that, Henry Vogel, since the Morrigan character is your character?
I'll tell the story to lead up to it. I've already mentioned that, in 1989, when the Southern Knights survived through the first big black and white bust, and then they built back up again afterwards. But the second bust, when a lot of the comics dealers just said, "Oh, if it's black and white, throw it out. We're not gonna carry this stuff anymore," and the sales dropped below break-even point, and David Anthony Kraft and I reluctantly pulled the plug on the book. The book had been dead for 3 years when Dennis contacted us and was like, "How
Hey,
about
we're at the Atlanta Fantasy Fair? Wasn't that hard to get in touch?"
Well, we must have discussed that fairly early then, because I don't think it was still the Fantasy Fair by 92.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. That was a long time ago. But so Morrigan, first of all, in the Morrigan Wars, she is a villain that the Southern Knights went up against in Southern Knights 15 and 16. And she returned again I think in issue 33 for a little while, maybe 32 also. So she is a goddess, and it's been too long since I looked into her, but she was one of the Celtic goddesses, and she was spending her time with all the other retired unworshipped deities at the Holy Ghost Memorial Home for Unworshipped Deities, as seen in issue number 15.
That's the theme of Gods and Services.
There you go.
Our other book.
Yep. And if you ever wondered what purgatory, the Catholic purgatory is, it's being on the staff there. The idea is that she breaks free and is trying to regain her powers, and contacts a druid who served her, who just happened to have slain Dragon's mate way back in like the 800s or something like that. So she contacts the reincarnated soul of the druid and brings back his memories, and the Southern Knights battle it out with her across 2 issues. Dennis was the one who thought we should have a crossover. Let's do the Southern Knights and the League of Champions and Flair. And I don't know whether Dennis proposed Morrigan or if we were trying to figure out exactly what our best villain from amongst the selection would be. But we ended up with...
That was me, because I figured of all of the villains that you had, a powered up Morrigan would be capable of taking on an entire 2 teams of superheroes.
She was the most powerful villain that they went up against. That is far and away correct. So Dennis contacted us, and we were all in favor of having the Southern Knights back in print for a while. And at that point, and I'm going to brush over it. Remember, folks, this was like 32 or 33 years ago, probably 33, because we put the books out in spring or summer of 92.
Sounds right.
And so we had to have begun in 91 to get this thing done in time. But we brought the books out. Dennis and I worked back and forth on plotting the books, and Dennis took some of the stories were were much more strongly plotted by Dennis, particularly ones that, well, anything that did not involve the Southern Knights, Dennis obviously did. And anything that was just the Southern Knights, I mostly did. But after that, once they started mixing, you can't point and say, oh yeah, that line was Henry's, or Henry was in charge of all of that, or Dennis was in charge of all of that. Once you begin mixing and matching and going off of ideas from each other, that you lose all ability to claim credit for anything, because everything is in flux until you suddenly hit a point where you both go, that's great, let's do that. So I'm going to pass it over to Dennis, because he's the one who came in with the actual idea to begin with. I just happened to have the team sitting there waiting for him to make the suggestion.
Yeah, and I have a question for Dennis, which as Henry said, the Southern Knights had been dormant for 3 years. Why were they foremost in your mind as a team that you wanted to cross over with?
Because I liked them.
Good enough answer.
I thought there was a dynamic there that we could play off of. And when you read the books, you'll see those dynamics come into play. But let me not get to that yet. Let's talk about that other villain, the one on the League of Champions cover. Just as, I figured Morrigan was the only villain in the Southern Knights stable capable of taking on a couple of superhero teams at once. On my side of things, the only villain that we had done anything with was the supposedly invincible Thugmaster, who is pictured there on the League of Champions cover in the slouch hat and the trench coat, all dark and menacing and evil. He'd appeared as an antagonist in a few issues of Flair. We had not really gone into much of what his powers are, but he is extremely formidable. And that kind of gets to the time travel device that you see separated between the two covers there along the spines. The reason it's the Morrigan Wars is because Morrigan took it into her head when she learned about the time travel device that the Southern Knights had captured in one of their adventures. Henry, what issue was that?
That was actually the end of issue 16. The device was created in probably issue 15, and then in the aftermath of issue 16, the Southern Knights kind of ended up with it, but they didn't come home with it until the end of issue 18, because they went off to an alternate dimension through that thing for issue my sword and sorcery fantasy, the issues 17 and 18 of the Southern Knights. Okay,
so we had this time travel device. The obvious thing for Morrigan to do was to steal it, go back in time, and fix things so that she was still goddess. And I brought the Thugmaster in because the Thugmaster can actually manipulate time somewhat. And he was not keen on the idea of someone actually having a time travel device. Time travel is terrible. I hate it. I don't like time travel stories. There's no real restriction on it, and it's difficult to work with. But that having been said, the genesis of the plot, past, present, and future. What happens is the amazing Darkon, one of Flair's enemies, who's standing next to the Thugmaster, basically activates it, blows himself up, and sends our teams of heroes across time into alternate realities, an alternate past, an alternate present, and an alternate future. The only one who doesn't go is Rose, who has her own natural ability to sidestep realities. She's still there. She punches Morrigan in the face, steals the time travel device, and goes out to try to bring back the Southern Knights and the champions from wherever the heck that is that they are. And that's our plot. Morrigan Wars, 3 different sequences in past, present, and future. The
It's a fun plot.
middle one was pretty much, I think, Henry's idea. It would not have occurred to me to put heroes into an Ayn Rand type of world. That had to have been Henry's idea.
I'm pretty sure it was. I actually reading that, I kept saying, "Oh, this is what's going to happen," and of course, I did kind of write that, so I should know what it was. But still, yes, the whole idea of basically a complete anarchy where everybody, where everything that both our heroes and our villain are looking for in the way of social structure and administrative state and things like that, none of it exists, so it confuses the heck out of everybody.
Yeah, the future timeline is our Eternity Smith timeline. Our time traveling hero from the 21st century, as with all stories, it becomes a bit dated, but it was an opportunity to explore that world, which we had not done in the Eternity Smith book, because that happens in a contemporaneous world. For the past, we tossed them into an alternate pre-Revolutionary War American colonies kind of world. And very early on, right, we make it clear that it's not the world that we know, because the Stamp Act was not passed until 1768 instead of 1763. So for anyone who's paying any attention, that's your clue right there, that this is not our world.
We also kind of gave away the bit about, like, did Atlanta even exist at this time? No, it didn't in our world, even though I kind of screwed that up and had it exist or at least the settlement exist there. So yeah, we have another hint that you don't have to have memorized dates in history class to pick up on.
So as far as the teams go, we've got Rose on a quest to, grab the heroes and bring them along. Morrigan follows her and actually precedes her in a couple of instances. And so Morrigan's machinations happen, they affect the heroes. In the past, we took Flare, Dragon, and Icicle, because Dragon would be at home in the past, being as old as he is.
3,000 years for those who aren't sure.
We threw Flare and Icicle in because there's a nice dynamic. Flare is looking for a boyfriend. She cannot get through her head that this is a dragon who turns into a man. She's absolutely convinced that this is a man who has the power to turn into a dragon. Icicle is interested because, as everyone knows, dragons have hoards, and she's being a thief, wants to get her hands on Dragon's hoard and will not pay any attention to him. Of course, dragons are going to deny that they have a hoard, right?
Of course.
Icicle's going to try to wheedle it out of him. And there's a very nice character dynamic in that. They don't know that they're going to be able to get back to their own time. And as I recall, eventually Flare kind of persuades Dragon that, let's see how this goes. And that's when Rose shows up. So
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
And of course, throwing Flare into the past, you couldn't send her to the future because she was there too.
Not exactly. Flare. No, that's actually one of Flare's descendants in the future. But we can step to that. In the future, we threw in the Huntsman, Aramis, and Kristen. Right. Because I wanted Kristen and Aramis there maybe to explore, the personal relationship. Henry did some of that, but I don't know that anything ever would have come of it.
Nope. No, right. Kristen is she sees herself thoroughly as a big sister.
Exactly.
Aramis.
Right. And that's how it ended up. We did a little mental manipulation so that I could do a little bit of that, but she quickly came back to herself, and that put the kibosh on that. Yeah.
You couldn't hook Kristen up with anybody because all the readers who had crushes on her, because we do that reading comic books. We know
what? Yeah.
So the reason this is a super scientific world, it's a world where mankind is at war with an army of thinking machines, AI gone crazy. And we actually did that world in Eternity Smith before the Terminator. There is so much in the Terminator that, parallels what we were doing in Eternity Smith, that I'm half a mind that, maybe somebody who did the Terminator read those books, but
too late. Harlan Ellison already sued him.
Yeah. So anyway, we wanted the Huntsman there because he's tech, and I wanted Aramis there because Aramis is magic. He's a magician in a world of technology. So we had that dynamic, although I didn't get much of a chance to explore that. It was in my head when I assigned those characters to that thing. And that
Dennis,
left
you get
us
the story. I'm
in
sorry,
the Randian world with Ice Star, Electrode, and Connie. Connie, Ice Star is a womanizer. Connie is not interested in being womanized. So, and Electrode, had an opportunity to protect Connie from the brash and irreverent Ice Star. So, in the midst of all that, in this confusing world where nothing makes any sense to them, but they start to sort of figure it out toward the end. It's not a bad world for a superhero to operate in. All right, Henry?
I mean, you don't have to necessarily worry too much about laws. It depends on whether somebody subscribes to the local police or whether they subscribe to the exist only in that world and only for a few panels Atlanta Aces superhero team. The whole idea is that people will only do what you hire them to do, and that otherwise the world assumes you're an adult, you can do what you want to. If you want to buy drugs from somebody, it's entirely legal to do so, which is where the first thing falls apart, because they come across and see this guy selling I think it was heroin to someone else, and they like grab him. It's like, we've got this guy, and the cops show up and they're like, what's going on? And it's like the drug seller is like, I was just selling heroin. It was not and the cops, like the Southern Knights and Ice Star, are like, yes, that's exactly it. He's admitting it. And the cops like, so what am I supposed to do? And the drug dealer is like, arrest them, arrest those guys who are bothering me. And,
interfering with my business.
Yes, pretty much. And it takes them a little while, and it's not just them. I mean, Morgan shows up and runs across we imply perhaps a descendant of hers, who's like just fishing in a pond, and Morgan is like, you will now serve me, and the woman's like, yeah, screw you, and Morgan throws her into the pond, and the woman fakes drowning so that Morgan goes away. But Morgan also runs into the problem where she accosts the guy in an alley and says, who's in charge around here? And the guy's like, in charge of what? I mean, what are you looking for? In charge of the police? It just confuses everybody that the world works vastly differently from what they're used to. But again, they can figure out the rules after a bit. And by the end of the episode, they've at least figured out how to play the rules well enough to get by. Fortunately, they're only stuck there for a little while. And
the homeless guy did get a pizza out of the deal, as I recall. With anchovies.
Oh, well, I don't know why you'd want that, but yes, I'm pretty sure they got a pizza out of the deal. I don't remember exactly, but that was a fun little issue to write.
And one thing that I included in there, the Atlanta Aces actually recognized Flair.
Yes.
She's
a goddess. She's kind of iffy on what realities she exists in or can be. So that's it. Dennis, let me ask you something here. You brought Eternity Smith into this. This story sprawled across League of Champions, Southern Knights, and a couple of Flair issues. Was there any thought at the time of saying, you know what, let's put the Eternity Smith chapter in an issue of Eternity Smith, or was that just going to be too?
No, there was no thought of doing that. Eternity Smith was not in the story. Right? It was just some supporting characters that I wanted a chance to develop, because I was planning to use them at some later time. So I want to do some development. The Flare of the future is in fact a descendant of Flare. She was Smith's partner in that future world. Sabrina Martel is her name. And we have used her later on in an issue of Flare. She eventually comes back to the past as well, and we do see her at one point. Also, Smith's daughter, Skylark, is immortal due to an incident that happened in Antarctica in an issue of Eternity Smith, and she appears in that alternate future reality in her costumed identity as Tesseract. So I had a little fun with it. Gave me a chance to do some things I'd not been able to do in the Smith comic book. So.
By the way, people over there in the chat, we are looking. I tuned in so that I would be aware of the comments that were coming in. So, hi everybody. I just haven't joined the chat, so I'm not writing. I thought.
Do we have any good questions? I'm sure we do. We must have some good questions. Oh, there's a T-shirt.
That
the
will be
Southern
in
Nights
the
T-shirt. Cool.
That will be in the in our Sticker Mule store as soon as I get it in my hands. The Sticker Mule store is interesting. It's not like Teespring. Sticker Mule's figured out that you can't just make a T-shirt and put it in the store, but you can make a T-shirt that you buy, and then if you buy something, then you can put it in your store.
Huh.
So they're guaranteed one sale of anything that ever goes in the store that way.
Oh,
okay.
We did the 3, but we didn't talk about the conclusion of the story. After Rose gathers everybody up, there's a big free-for-all.
There is a huge free-for-all where everybody makes the mistake of turning Dread loose. Dread being the first supervillain that the Southern Knights ever went up against.
And there he is on the Southern Knights cover, right next to Morrigan.
Yes, the guy with the weird skull, upper skull looking. That's a mask. It's not really his face, at least as far as everyone knows. It's a mask. Ooh, there's a question. How much fun is it to revisit all of these stories? I can answer for myself. It's an absolute blast. I have said this many a time. Some of my fondest memories are attending the comic book conventions or getting together to brainstorm issues of Southern Knights or the X-Thieves, or even just talking on the phone with editors or people like Dennis when discussing what to do with these things. You get to be old like Dennis and me, and this takes us back to when we weren't old. We can go back to the days of the 80s and the very early 90s when we were in our 20s or 30s. So I think it's an absolute fantastic thing to do.
Erwin Bird can answer
you can blame the Thugmaster for Dread. He foisted Darkon off on Morrigan, actually more to be a hindrance to her than anything else, and it worked. I mean, he sabotaged her plan to get the time machine. And then he went and fetched Dread out of prison, figuring that Dread would be a good ace in the hole. Didn't work out quite as well as he'd hoped.
You can't. Anyway. Villains can't trust villains. They should know that.
Well, that was part of my thinking too, right? The Thugmaster, while seeming to cooperate with Morrigan, was actually working against her. Had they been working together, actually working together, I don't think the champions and the knights could have beaten them, right? But the fact that they were actually, although Morrigan didn't know it, at odds with each other was what gave them the opportunity to defeat the bad guys.
That's an important and fairly standard trope when you deal with evil going up against the good guys. The good guys can be outmanned, outnumbered, and still emerge triumphant because the nature of evil is that it can't work well together. Everybody's always looking to sort of get their own one-upsmanship going. So they can't work together, they can't create, all of that stuff.
Do we have any questions?
Carolyn Berg asked, who wrote the sexy dance pop theme for Flair? I write all the songs. I don't write the music. I describe the music, and I take the pieces that I like, but I do write all the lyrics for all the videos, including Dennis, this one.
Yes, correct.
12 years in shadows, hiding away. A hero awaits to emerge into day. His legacy lives in his son by his side. They're chasing a truth that can no longer hide. Captain Thunder and Blue Bolt, this is where the storm begins. Fighting unfairness and clearing his name. Lightning strikes and justice wins.
You just finished that, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Roy is going to love that. Oh my goodness. That is so nice.
That is one of the happiest things to come out of all of this, is that it's, like I said, it started with X Thieves and it's just rolled downhill, because as soon as we started working with Dennis on the Morrigan Wars, Dennis like, what do you want to do with you want to do something with Flair? Want to do some archives? I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, you want to do something for Roy Thomas? We're like, yes. and we've got more projects coming down the pike here, guys. So
Yeah, we've got a Shebat. I just worked it out with Derek Gross's son, who's also named Derek. And there's going to be a Shebat archive coming, collecting all of the published Murcielaga Shebat adventures.
there will be there'll be a Shebat and then one in Spanish.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. My nephew actually is a college professor. He translated a bunch of Shebat stories into Spanish for Derek, who sadly passed away before we could do anything with it. But young Derek definitely wants to do the Spanish language stuff as well. But this is not about Captain Thunder or the Shebat. This is a Morrigan Wars interview.
But
It just doesn't hurt.
for me, Morrigan Wars is sort of like a fulcrum point for everything we're going to be doing in 2025.
It
One thing always leads to another.
I mean, I still remember we were having one of the meetings about doing the Southern Nights, and I explained to them why we could not put the officially numbered Southern Nights number 35 and number 36 in there. I said 2 reasons. 1, it's not a complete story by itself. 2, we only own some of the characters that are in that book, so it's not like we can just publish them. It would confuse the heck out of the readers and piss Dennis off. And
piss
people
me
were like,
off.
well,
I would
just
have been surprised by it, but
yes. Well, I wasn't. We wouldn't do it because we would have wanted to be all above board and legal and everything. And they said, well, why don't you ask Dennis if he wants to do a Morrigan Wars reprint or something? I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. So I fired an email off to Dennis, and Dennis responded very quickly. Yes, I would be interested in talking about that. So I put him in touch with RJ. The next morning, I wrote a foreword for the Southern Nights where I said, by the way, actually, I wrote the addendum to the foreword to go with the little asterisk next to almost in the title. And I said that Dennis and RJ are actually, I think I said Critical Blast, but are working together, and I'm sure they will work out a reprint option for the Morrigan Wars real soon. So keep an eye out for it. And then I had to go back and rewrite it, because by the time I actually sent that to RJ, he said, "Yeah, we've worked out that, so it's gonna happen. We've got all the details taken care of." So I had to go back and rewrite it and say, okay, it's going to happen.
Did I ever explain to you why I decided to put it in also into a couple of issues of Flair?
No.
It's because Flair was our best-selling title. I figured, we could probably bring some people into the League of Champions and Southern Nights issues if we also added in a couple of issues of Flair. It was that simple.
And if you go back to and again, it's not about the X Thieves, but I'm going to go there because it ties to that subject. When we created the X Thieves, there was the micro series, and then the first series of the first book of the ongoing series was going to be a team up with the Southern Knights, and Dak was adamant they should be in the Southern Knights. They should be in the Southern Knights. I said, Dak, we sold 40,000 copies of the X Thieves micro series. We're selling 12,000 of the Southern Knights. Why don't we do it the other way around and see if we can increase attention to the Southern Knights? And
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, one of the few times Dak was wrong.
Yes.
Oh, one thing that we should mention, George Perez contributed to this.
Yes, we have
George
Perez artwork in this.
Did the cover that appeared on, which one was it? It was League of Champions number 6, I think. And he inked the chapter that appears in that issue. George told me that he had his goal, one of his goals was to draw every comic book superhero who existed at that time. And this gave him his chance to do the League of Champions and the Southern Knights. So I was happy to do it. But, sadly, George was very, very busy and did not have time to do anything more than that for this. So
Well, if only we had known.
And Henry?
I was just saying, if only we had known, we could have gotten him to do an episode or an issue of the Southern Knights. Because, I mean, Dak had an in with him. They worked together on the first book that George ever drew for Marvel was written by Dak.
Yeah.
And he would come by. I remember him bringing George by and introducing him to all the art. This was at Heroes Con. And, George was quite a character, and he took some rolled up.
There's Perez inks.
Yeah, some rolled up copies of
No,
artwork that had been penciled, and he went and whacked Mark Probst over the head, and he said, "That's a compliment."
Yeah, this is Mark's inks here. It was League of Champions 5 that has the Perez inking, not 6. Then Mark Probst stepped in to help out with the inks, and he did full pencils and inks on the concluding chapters of the book.
All the art is consistent, though. I mean, you had several artists, but they worked well together. There wasn't like when I was reading Neil Gaiman's Sandman. You get the second issue, it's like, whoa, wait a second, this is not what I read last time. There would be a wildly variant art style.
Yeah, that's an editorial art direction kind of thing. If you're doing a continuous story, you want the thing to at least feel comfortable, so it's not jarring. We didn't quite manage it in that future story. We had I'm blanking. We had to switch artists midstream on the future story, and that was kind of sad. But it came out okay, I think.
Yeah, I agree that the art was very consistent. Something that you will, when you look through, if you go get the Southern Knights almost complete collection, there are a lot of different artists that contributed, and honestly, you can tell. But they all brought their own unique look to it, and we did not usually change artists mid-story. So there was always some consistency there. But the art in the Morrigan Wars was quite good and very consistent.
Yeah. Do we have more
We're
questions?
talking about a lot of different books here, and Morrigan Wars, by the way, both are linked below. Click those
Yeah,
links.
it was intended to be a 6-issue arc. It ended up being 8 because there were always art issues, and unfortunately, in a couple of cases, we didn't get them in deadline time. Yeah. George also did a few covers for us. There's a Flair Adventures cover that he did, and some other one, but he wasn't able to do very much, which I greatly regret. I loved working with him.
So Henry, you're the first person I know that has actually gotten this book. In fact, I talked with George. I said, "You realize you had gotten your books or had ordered your books the traditional path, which was ask RJ to order them, and then I make the order." And then with Dennis, hang on.
Make him big.
It's huge.
It's freaking huge. This thing will stop probably.
Show us the spine. Show us the spine, Henry. There you go.
It is. I mean, to put things in perspective, here's my hand. I do not have tiny hands. I mean, it's not like I have huge hands. I'm not,
Yeah, Henry's hand's like a foot long,
Yeah, no, but
The
it
Morrigan Wars
is.
book is not small either. How many
It
pages?
is. You've got all of this artwork. It's gorgeous. He cleaned it up. George did a great job cleaning that stuff up. And
It was a Tuesday.
yeah, it was a Tuesday.
It literally was a Tuesday.
It's the cosmic time of the week when all the world's work gets done.
And for those of you, here you go. This is, I'm trying to get it into my camera here. This is like Willie Pepper's pencils for what would have been Southern Nights 35 if it was published in 1989. And instead it became Southern Nights 35 when the Morrigan Wars came out. But, if you're unsure of what's in there, the absolutely never before seen part is some of the filler artwork that's in there, and 11 pages of gorgeous pencils by Willie Peppers for the issue that never came to be.
Oh,
Well, never say never.
Never
Yeah.
came to be thus far.
thus far.
Yeah.
You could do an issue 37.
Anyone know
Well-
John Burns' phone number?
John knows
Oh,
it.
John Byrne.
So,
John does know.
what about more questions? I saw one flash up, but we didn't answer it.
Which one did we not answer?
Was it it was more of a comment about George
Oh, the
Perez.
comment. Okay.
And
That's why we didn't answer it.
yeah, if you look over on the right side of your screen, there'll be private chat and comments. If you click comments, it's the bottom one from Heroinberg.
Oh, I see. I did not know that this worked. Somebody gave RJ a compliment here.
I know, it's like, that's crazy talk.
He's complimenting the writing, and all I do is make jingles. So
Well, you write good jingles. How's that?
I try my best.
Yeah.
I was at a book signing today, which was my own book, so I try to keep my hand in it.
Oh, we don't want to talk about your books. I don't make any money when you sell books.
No,
You're
no, I don't make any money when I sell books.
I know that one too.
Heroinberg. 488 page Flair archive. It is big book. How big is the Morrigan Wars? 280 something? Isn't it?
No, it's less than that.
360.
360.
Yes.
The Morrigan Wars?
Yes.
It went over 8 issues, for heaven's sake, Henry.
I
And
thought
we
it
got-
only ran about 200 and
Oh.
something.
360.
We've got a ways to go to hit that 1100 mark again that we did with Southern Nights. But
Yeah.
Which is probably just as well. That is one huge book. So
they can't get much bigger because literally the printer has a physical limitation of 1200 pages.
right.
So 1116, not much more we can do.
Okay. So I just checked the Morrigan Wars e-proof. It's like 213, 14 pages, something like that.
That 360 must be wrong then.
360, 340 is the X Thieves.
Oh,
That could
Wait,
Maybe where we're
wait,
going?
hold on a second. Let me pull up the PDF.
we're digressing.
Oh, we are digressing.
That's
I'm
what
sorry,
these shows
people.
do.
This is
We
boring.
digress on shows all the time.
Okay.
So
But people get to find out what's coming. Because we've seen interest in La Murcielaga
Yeah, I saw
already
that.
in the chat.
Thank you for that.
I can't wait. I can't wait to dig into all of this stuff. One of the fun
Sorry,
things that happened.
no, I made a mistake. 360 is the Roy Thomas book.
Oh,
Ah.
the Captain Thunder book that we.
Yeah, Captain Thunder books. Sorry, I got the heavy books mixed up.
There's so many of them now.
no, 360.
And
That's,
Yeah, 206.
Captain Thunder book contains every appearance of Captain Thunder and Blue Bolt, including the retailer poster that we sent out to retailers around the time that the Sparkplug
And
crossover.
thank you so much for sending me this 80s collectible item here.
Yeah,
And
here
they
it
did
is.
this
That was drawn by Rick Hoberg. It's got all of the characters, well, a lot of the characters. Captain Thunder and Blue Bolt, Eternity Smith is on there, Flair is on there. Yeah.
It's gorgeous, and it was made for a nice clean scan to get it into the book. And there it is.
This is the artwork that came to us, but
Yes.
Because of the Heroes comics was going down into the center of the spine. Dun 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 dun. We
Changed it.
we
You moved it.
we moved it, and
That's cool.
I don't know if you saw that or noticed it when we went in the spread. Where's this?
Yeah,
Where's
I didn't notice it.
okay, first we removed the words,
Hmm.
and then let's see. Oh, I have to actually go into the actual document. Hold on a sec.
While he's digging that up, I'll just toss this out. I know I've talked to RJ about this in the past, but for any fans that are out there that are curious, is there a way to maybe get a much lighter, easier to hold digital version of these books?
We're working on it.
We're working on it, exactly.
I highly recommend
it's a software thing.
drivethroughcomics.com. All of our digital stuff goes through drivethroughcomics.com. If you want digital copies of the original issues that these stories appeared in, you can grab them from there. We also sell digital on our website, heroicmultiverse.com.
Yeah, now those are PDFs,
Yeah.
not set up the same way as, say, a
Correct.
Comixology that you would get from Amazon. And I think you're aiming more for that Comixology thing.
We're actually aiming more for the static page PDF. I do not have the programming skills that I want to get into the zoom in and zoom out on a single panel and have the panels pushed forward.
It's a pain in the butt. That's why we.
Yeah, that's not comics anyway anymore.
Yeah.
Traversing the panels is comics because you're building. You got to make the connection in your head between the two panels.
Oh, for Flair fans, we should also mention RJ. We did some Sunday pages for Creator Syndicate years ago. They were never able to sell it, but there's something like 100 Sunday pages featuring Flair.
Hey, giddy up! Let's do this.
We are.
We are going to do it.
It's on slate.
I just have to collect them all together. Problem I discovered is that some of those files are a little bit corrupt, so I have to find clean copies of them. It's been so long since we did that. But these are actually canonical stories. They occur in Flair's world. They're real. They're not just like some newspaper strips don't reflect the comics. These strips that we did for Creator Syndicate are in fact canon.
And they're all wide, right?
Right. They're all horizontal. Right?
Okay, great. Opportunity to go wide hardcover. Woohoo!
Yes, we can do an 8 instead of an 8.5 by 11. We can do an 11 by 8.5. Yeah,
and they fit sideways. They fit sideways on a comic book page too, which is I was a bit surprised.
Definitely do it. I mean, we got 4 more archives of Flair anyway. At least if we keep it 10 to an issue.
Yeah, the second Flair archive is going to be the black and white books, the ones that we did, just before the second black and white implosion. The economics worked up to a point, and I was ready for it. And as soon as the implosion happened, which I knew would happen, we pulled the plug again. So there are 9 issues of Flair in black and white. I'm also planning, because we did some reprint books with a new cover art. So I'm thinking, RJ, that we should also include in that archive the covers for those reprint books. Because
always include as much as possible.
Yeah.
This is a historic document, really.
Mm-hmm. And
collectors, they want to see it all.
Then we'll figure out what goes into 3. I don't want to do 4 yet because we're still in the middle of a story. So we want to save 4 until that story is complete.
You're not ready for that one. Yeah. But yeah, digging through all of these older books, we're finding, things that laying around hadn't been seen before. I don't know how long that meeting was, Henry, that we had with the whole Southern Nights team, where we had all the stuff. Jay was just finding stuff in the storage bin while we were talking.
It was astounding, the stuff that she was turning up. I mean, two complete broken down by Mark Probst issues of the X-Thieves, the 11 pages of Southern Nights artwork by Willie that ended up in there. God knows how many unused covers, possible covers, pinups, things like that. It's
And she had 2 monster stories that I keep begging her, please let us do this. Please let us do this. Please let us do this.
I sent you a couple of pages of art that Mark did when we were talking about reviving the Southern Nights that you ended up using in one of your books, Henry?
not yet.
Okay.
We haven't decided exactly what to do yet. I'm the next place I would probably look for new Southern Nights or unseen Southern Nights artwork is the Southern Nights prose story that I'm writing. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. It's at 15 to 16,000 words right now, and it will be a prose version of what would have been the next Southern Nights story after the Psychic Wars that Willie Peppers drew those 11 pages for. And we may yet do the Psychic Wars, and we may even do that in comic book form. We're not sure yet.
That would be good. I've read that story. I love that story. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
So many things.
Well, I've not read the story. I've read the synopsis.
Yes. I remember I proposed that, and you were like, you need to know a little too much about the Southern Nights. It's not a good reintroduction. So,
but the story was good. I love the story. It was just I was having my editor's hat on at that point.
Yeah,
right.
You don't happen to have the treatment I sent to you, because I'm not sure I do.
I do have that. Let me dig it out. I will.
Oh, great!
Email it to you.
If you can dig that out and send it back, that would be really handy. That might tell me what's going on page 10.
Wait a minute. Is this handwritten? Is this typed out with liquid paper? What is it?
It was an email.
It's an email.
Ah.
Yeah.
George was hoping to scan an artifact.
Well, I'll just put a rough paper texture on the email and make it look like a fax.
Okay. All right.
That's been the funnest part for me of this, is that I used to watch American Pickers, and they had this phrase called new old stock, where they would find something that was old, but it had been stored away and it had never been opened. And we're kind of doing that, going through all this stuff. We're finding new old stock. We're finding new 80s comics that haven't never been published and are now going to be published. Like those 2, for fans of X Thieves, if you want 2 new X Thieves stories, guess what? We've got them. We're tentatively calling the collection Recovered Loot. Just put those 2 in their own little volume. We've got Psychic Wars for Southern Nights, for new Southern Nights stories. It's fun stuff. And Dennis, if you've got stuff that's coming from the 80s that didn't get published, obviously we want that. Yes, we want to.
I have a lot of artwork in pencil form that was never inked, and some of it has some lettering on it, but the lettering is incomplete. So I'm sure we can do something.
Pencils. I love pencils more than I love inked. I love inked more than I love colored.
I've got hold on. I've got some of that right over here. I'll be right back.
I feel like I'm like a kid in Santa's castle now.
Can you imagine if Jennifer were here? It'd be almost like she'd need like a headlamp to go into the dark, deep recesses of the storage unit to find everything that was that's buried in there. Still have to plan to go to Atlanta and dig through that stuff with her.
The Flying Fox is a villain who makes a nuisance of himself to the League of Champions. He likes to put new champions to the test. There's a 14-page story here that was penciled. You're going to put me on screen here?
Yes, sir. The big one.
We've got some pencils here.
Wow, those are really detailed pencils too.
Right on.
And this is what I meant. We've got, some of it was actually lettered. This is back in the day, right, when you would, do the lettering, some of the lettering before sending it to, the inker to ink.
Is that book complete? Like that?
It's 14-page story, and it has never been fully lettered, right? Here's another page that has no lettering on it. Gene Simic was working on it, but Gene sadly passed away. So the lettering was never finished. It's like, of these 14 pages, it looks like 6, 7 of them have some lettering on it.
All right. Well, let's get those scanned in and get our hands on the artwork. Let's finish the inks, get the lettering finished, and
Well, I'm planning to get them inked. I'm going to ask Henry Martinez.
I was going to say, not me. No.
yeah.
To take these pages. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send him the scans of these, and see if he can polish it up.
George, what are you sharing here right now?
This is a sample test of X Thieves. This is one of the X Thieves unpublished pages. It got scanned in, cleaned up, made into a blue line, and then right there, I did a ink test over it to actually understand if the concept of working the blue lines would work. And yeah, this was just a very quick test sample.
I've done that too. I've taken pencils, good quality pencils, highlighted the.
Oh no, this is actually inks over the blue line.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the test was to see if the blue line would be able to create enough contrast so you actually see the line work past the paper, which was very, very coarse, very rough, and the color of the paper was very close to the what do you call it, the pencils. So there was a lot of contrast adjustments to be made before you can see pure white.
Paper was whiter when they started, but as the years went by, it came closer in color to the paper.
And I was going to say, I've done that too. On occasion, when I've had really good quality pencils, I've heightened the contrast on it, because if they're good enough, you can maybe do it without.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a Sparkplug story, a little 5-page Sparkplug story that's going to be in an issue of Liberty Girl, strangely enough, coming up. And there was another Lady Arcane story, Black Enchantress story that we just did that for. That'll be in either an issue of Lady Arcane or Black Enchantress at some point.
Okay. Gary had a question.
Yeah.
Grey Wolf. Yeah.
And was it studio, creative studio professional? Is that what it is? Or if it's anything like Photoshop, you copy the pencils, put them into an alpha channel, invert the alpha channel, go back to your main channel, your main color channel, delete the artwork there, have a white page, and then bring in the alpha channel, and then just fill in, instead of black, you fill it in with blue, and there you go. You got your blue line. Okay,
I heard a lot of Star Trek words and nothing at all about art.
You bypass the password protocols to open the door.
Wait, you didn't say reverse polarity yet.
Yeah, that's after you get through the door.
He in fact reversed the polarity on the blue lines.
That's it.
Oh,
he did when he said
once that actually makes sense.
Dennis, one of the things that we also talked about coming out of all these projects was Witchgirls.
Oh yeah. We want to do that. We've been starting to do some role-playing game supplements, and I've talked to Henry about doing one for the Southern Knights. I need some stuff from you, Henry.
Yeah, I need a chance to work on that stuff. I did give the guy from the company,
Greg.
Yes, I gave him access to the Southern Knights PDFs so that he could look through the book himself and also have access to all the the retail information. I just need to sit down and go through everything and record who's who. And of course, now I have an easy way to do that.
Reference book.
It's
Anyway,
all in one place.
we've done a League of Champions source book. We've done a League of Enemies source book. I encourage Mr. Henry Vogel here to do a Southern Nights source book. What we're going to do with the Witchgirls is a little bit different. We're going to try to time this so that whatever Witchgirls volumes we do in an archive format will come out at the same time as our Witchgirls Adventure book, which...
There's an easy way to control that.
Yeah, there is. So anyway, the adventure book, the premise is that Rose and the Black Enchantress, who are the principals in Witchgirls Inc., which is a detective agency run by witches, are busy with something big, but they have all these little cases that they don't have time for at the moment. So they send out the word, we're hiring. And the premise of the adventure book is that the players who, play in Champions version 2, version 6, 6th edition Champions, will have their own characters, limited abilities, some sort of occult background, and they will take on, whenever they feel like it, these half a dozen or so different cases that we include in the adventure supplement.
He's making a huge comeback. The reason I held up those DC Heroes ones is
and that's the premise, right?
on Kickstarter right now.
So we are going to do some Witchgirls volumes somewhere down the road, and we'll see. I haven't figured out how we're going to do it. I expect we might do a Psyche volume, a Black Enchantress volume, maybe a Witchgirls volume, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Cryptozoic is making a lot of money right now by reissuing all the DC superhero role-playing games.
Mhm.
And they're making dice and everything. I'm like, why don't you make the little pewter figures? That's what I want. That's what I had. I want back. Don't know where they went.
Okay, well, anything else here? We seem to have discussed, now we really are digressing at this point.
I know, but I want pewter figures of League of Champions and Southern Knights. So
Oh, I'm all in favor of that. Yes. You
Well,
get
there
that
actually
done.
were some pewter figures of the champions back in the 80s. You may be able to find them on eBay if you look hard enough.
I'll do that. What I'll probably do is I'll try to find somebody who knows how to do some 3D prints.
Hold on.
I don't have any figures of the Southern Knights to bring out. But we could get somebody to do 3D prints of them.
Yeah, we could.
Where is it?
He's got a room full of printers
Well,
and bags of resin hanging from the ceiling.
the blue guy can do it, huh?
Oh, look, he's 3D printed something of his own stuff.
Hey.
Oh, that's excellent. I would. I don't know about anybody else, but I would sure the heck pay for some Southern Knights 3D prints like that.
Get back to me. Here.
Pull back
Guess
a
who
little
that
more.
is?
Too close.
There.
A little better.
That.
Flare.
Yeah, flare.
Yeah, that's a pewter flare.
Ah, man, I want. Okay, eBay, here I come. I bought 3D prints off of eBay already because they looked cool. Come on, everybody thinks 3D prints look cool. And I wanted to paint them, and then I got them, and I realized that this is YouTube, so I got to be careful here. I realized that I have absolutely no ability to paint anything.
To paint those resin.
George just prints it out in the color it needs to be. He doesn't have to paint anything. He printed the translucent orange plastic for the fireball in her hand, which is actually a sun. But,
Gee,
George
the
is
only
very
thing I've
talented.
even remotely got, and I'd have to dig to find it, is, we didn't ever have any Southern Knights merchandise other than T-shirts. But some friends of ours way back in the 80s, the It was a married couple at the time, and the husband's mother made custom teddy bears. So we have a teddy bear in an electrode costume.
Very nice. Well, you know that pose of the group on the T-shirt would make for a nice 3D printed statue.
It really would. It really would. Yeah. So George should get busy on that.
Well, you and you, I'm not in the middle of that one. He's the 3D businessman person there.
Okay. All right.
Not something I do, but money. I'm sure he can be bought. I know he can be bought. I've seen it happen. All right, guys, you're right.
Let's encourage people to get these volumes because these are great. There's great stuff. Oh, I never answered your question. How did I feel about going back? I loved it. There's stuff in there that I'd completely forgotten about. That team of villains that the Thugmaster brings together, which includes the Dash. I'd completely forgotten about those guys. It is fun. It's fun to revisit this stuff. So many years later. Not in geologic times, right? It's not that far back in geologic times, but
it's not really.
For those of us with limited lifespans, 30 years can be a lot.
Yeah. Especially the further towards the end of the spectrum we are, the more that seems like, another 30 years would be a lot.
Those of us who look at you and think, gosh, I wish I was as young as RJ. We definitely.
I'm 57.
Yeah,
So,
well, if I went back to your age, that'd get me 10 more years. So,
but folks, you can see how the quality of the books. So you don't have to. You've seen Henry hold up the great big. His book was 3 of these. So
yeah, if you must, you can actually beat up a bully with it.
Yeah, or a home invasion.
Yeah, get them on the ground and then just bring it down quite mightily.
So Morrigan Wars is going to be the same quality here.
Oh,
It's going to be full color.
These guys are showing off books, huh? Okay.
there you go. There you go, Gray Wolf. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I got a 5x8 version of it. Huh? Look at that.
Yeah, it's 5x7.
So
Oh, 5x7.
the digest surprised the heck out of me. My 67-year-old eyes could read it.
It's freaking awesome, man. Marvel and DC did this stuff back in the early 70s. This is awesome.
So Dennis, if this is something you want to do a little bit later on or as soon as possible, either way, I don't care. We do the 8.5 by 11s, and then we make our little paperbacks that are travel size versions.
I could go for
There's
that.
also the smaller, the not quite so large paperback too.
There is.
Yes.
We usually do three things, and we just didn't get our.
Go ahead, Simon. I'm good with it.
Yeah,
Okay, George. New flares, new blood, new Captain Thunders, and we won't do
New Morrigan Wars.
Morrigan Wars.
We won't do Morrigan Wars yet. We'll wait until we do the. Am I going to let the cat out of the bag too early?
No, hush.
We'll wait until Project X.
Yes,
Until
I was
Project
about to say that. I was about to say that.
Exact word. Once Project X is out, it will fit in better to do that. But for Flare and for Blue Bolt and for help me out. There's a third book we did. What is it?
Flare, Blue Bolt, and Morrigan Wars are the only ones you've done with me yet.
I keep thinking there must be another book. Maybe I'm thinking ahead of the game already.
You may be, because we've been talking about several projects.
Yes.
There's
And
even going to be Missing Beings.
Oh my
yes,
gosh, that's gonna be awesome.
We missed that. All the backup stories that were in Southern Nights.
Yep, it was
That had nothing to do with Southern Nights.
It was done in 3 issues and added up to about 30 pages of story, but it was a complete story, and that ran as a backup in Southern Nights 7, 8, and 9. I had hoped to keep going with that, and I was going to put it into the same universe. So I was going to have Mark Dagan have an appearance in there. It's set hundreds of years in the future when mankind has spread to the stars, but he'll still be alive, assuming no supervillain knocks him off. So, because dragons, they live forever.
Yeah, but when you do that, when you show a character in the far future, you take out all the suspense of.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Could be an alternate future.
Yes. And
Could always be
the,
helping it,
the
too.
character could be wearing a mustache.
Yeah, I mean, Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl didn't have to get married.
Nope, they didn't. In fact, I don't know which Legion we're on now. The Legion has altered so many times. For me, it's always going to be, well, the one burned into my teenage brain is going to stay constant. That's the one that Dave Cockrum redid the costumes on. Because he came in when I was 13. I'm like, perfect timing, sir, perfect timing.
The Jim Shooter era.
Yes. Basically, took a Victoria's Secret catalog and turned it into a superhero team. I'm there.
That was after Shooter. Shooter was at the tail end of the Adventure Comics run.
All right. Well, guys,
thank
you so much. This is not going to be the last time we talk. This is chat. You're going to see these people again because we're going to do so many more books.
Play the trailer one more time.
You're which one?
The new one.
You're going to get tired of new books. You're going to be saying another new book. Come on, RJ. We're tired of new books.
12 years in shadows, hiding away. A hero awaits to emerge into day. His legacy lives in his son by his side. They're chasing a truth that can no longer hide. Captain Thunder and Blue Bolt, this is where the storm begins. Fighting unfairness and clearing his name. Lightning strikes and justice wins.
You got to send that to Roy.
I'll send it to you, and then you can send it to Roy because I don't know that anything I send to Roy gets through.
Yeah,
It's in the G drive.
Yeah.
And chat. That's Roy Thomas he's talking about. Yeah, I'm rubbing shoulders with giants now.
Roy's not that tall.
And on that note, we're going to end the stream. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks
Everyone
for
in the
having me.
chat.
You're more than welcome. People, thanks for listening in. Quite frankly, we wouldn't be doing this without y'all, and we sure the heck wouldn't be doing this without y'all, because otherwise we'd just be, why would we even produce comic book stories if we don't have anybody to read them?
We'd be watching Netflix all the time.
Exactly.
So,
Alrighty. Good night.
guys
Good night,
in the chat,
everybody.
thanks for being here. We don't have a show without you. We're just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. So while you're here, as always, we just hope you have a blast. Good night.